It's 9:30, so I guess we'll start. Our first speaker this morning is Gerard Laumon, who will speak on zeta functions of Siegel threefolds.
Okay, so thank you. So the zeta function of modular curves and also of Shimura varieties related to GL2 are now more or less known. Okay, there are still problems, but they are more or less known. So, but what about higher dimensional Shimura varieties of PEL types, at least? So important progress have been done. So I would like to mention all this progress. So first of all, the counting of points over finite field by Kottwitz. So the trace formula and its stabilization, at least assuming the fundamental lemmas by Arthur. So other important progress have been made. So the understanding and the boundary of the Shimura varieties. So this has been done by Goreski, Harder, and McPherson, and also Franke. And there is also, in the same spirit, the topological trace formula. And the last things I would like to mention is the proof by Pink of a conjecture of the line on the Lefschetz fixed point formula. But obviously, there is really a major ingredient which is still missing. In some sense, that is the last ingredient which is missing, is the fundamental lemma. So some cases have been already treated. So usually rank 2 cases. But the first one is more general. So I would like to mention Kottwitz simple Shimura varieties, which are associated to involution of second kind on division algebra over a CM field, and also the U3 case, which was done in Montreal, the famous volume. The first one is the easiest, in the sense that here the Shimura varieties are compact. And for some quite mysterious reason, for me at least, there is basically no problem with endoscopy. So in the U3 case, you have both problems. I mean, endoscopic, there is endoscopy, and the variety are not compact in general. So, but this case is favorable because you can, first of all, all the group which are related to U3, endoscopic group, Levy subgroup, and so on, they are all unitary group of lower rank. So you have U2, U1, or form of that. So it's a favorable case from this point of view, and it's also favorable because the fundamental lemma can be done by hand. So, but this is not the case I will consider in the lecture. So the case I was asked to speak about is a symplectic case, so GSP2. GSP4, sorry. So GSP4 is also a favorable case. And for the same reason than U3, so first of all, the Levy subgroup and the endoscopic group of GSP4 are related to GL2 or GL1. You don't have to work so much with those groups. And a second reason is that most probably, so I have not checked, that the fundamental lemma can be done by hand. I think it has been maybe done by Weissauer and Kaiser. So that's the reason that this case is very favorable. So what is known about this case, so, and what I will speak about. So the first result, okay, in the direction of computing the zeta function, for example, were obtained by Taylor in 1992, only using, Richard Taylor, only using the congruence relation, plus some p-adic Hodge theory. So then, as an exercise, I mean, just to learn the theory, I tried to apply all these tools to GSP4. And so I did that in around 1995. So then I computed essentially the parabolic terms of the zeta function. And there is a main term, which is a discrete part. So I hope that James Arthur will speak about it next Saturday. So, and simultaneously, almost at the same time, Harder and also Weissauer did similar computation for GSP4 using a slightly different technique using the topological trace formula. So in 95, I was already considering the local system, the trivial local system. So Weissauer and Harder and Weissauer, they were considering the general case. So and I was asked by the organizer to consider the general case, arbitrary local system. So in preparing this lecture, I checked that it works as well. So, and this is what I want to explain today. But let me point out that there is nothing deep here. I am just taking this list of progress, and I am just applying what is done already. So the only difficulty is really to understand what these people did, which is usually quite complicated, and that's the main difficulty. Okay, especially to apply their general theorem to a particular case is not so easy, at least in my opinion. So let me start with the Siegel threefold. So I need the group G. So G is GSP4. So and this is a symplectic similitude of a symplectic form, which is given by a matrix, so 0, 0, okay, 0s minus s0, where S is the anti-diagonal matrix 1, 1. So this is over Z. So and this group has a character which is C, and the kernel of this character is a symplectic group, usual symplectic group. So Shimura varieties associated, the Shimura varieties associated to GSP4 are the so-called Siegel threefolds. So they depend on the choice of a level. So I will take principal level. So n, and for simplicity, I will assume that n is at least 3. So the Shimura variety is a moduli space of quadruples. Zeta. Zeta. Where A is an abelian surface, so an abelian variety of dimension 2. Lambda is a principal polarization. Zeta is a primitive nth root of the unity. And eta is a level structure. So let me make it a little bit more precise. So A equal abelian surface. Lambda is an isomorphism between A and the dual abelian variety such that lambda at equal lambda. And eta is an isomorphism between the n division point on the abelian variety and z over nz to the power 4, which is symplectic, so you have to take into account the Weil pairing. And the roots of unity to identify mu n to z over nz. So the complex points are, all these things are really well known. So first of all, this is a quasi-projective algebraic variety over, so I don't consider bad reduction, so over z over where I add 1 over n, invert n of relative dimension, smooth of relative dimension. So as an example of things which are difficult, if you take the Kotwitz paper and you try to figure out what are the dimensions of the variety that he is considering, you will see that's not so easy. They define a lot of variety, but the dimension is always a mystery. So that's for the, so those results are due to Mumford, let's say. So the complex points are given by the usual formula. G A divided by Kn. So where x infinity is a union of the upper and the lower Siegel upper half plane. So this is minus h plus, and this is a set of omega in GL2C, such that S omega is symmetric, and its imaginary part is definite positive definite. And in terms of a group theory, this is the quotient of GR by K prime infinity, where K prime infinity is essentially the maximal compact subgroup of SP4. A maximal compact subgroup of SP4. So you take, for this part, this is a set of matrices in GR such that so we need also local systems. So the local system in this theory are coming from rational representation of the group. So each time we have such a representation, algebraic representation of G over Q. I have a, so there is, and I will fix some prime number and look at L-adic local system. So there is associated to that an L-adic local system. In fact, I will take the dual of it on Sn. So analytically, this local system is given by the quotient. I just replace, I add something here. I forgot to say Kn is, Kn is a principal congruent subgroup. And here you multiply by QL times V dual. So that's a total space in some sense of the local system on the complex point. So and the goal of the, at least of this lecture, is to compute the zeta function or the L function of S of this Shimura variety with value in this L-adic local system, which is an Eulerian product, and I will only consider good prime, so prime which does not divide n times L of local factor. So here you have several choices because this is the L function associated to the L-adic cohomology of the variety with value in the local system. So, but here the variety is not compact. So you have to decide something. So you have my favorite choice is simply the cohomology with compact support. But another very reasonable choice is the intersection cohomology of the Satake compactification. So, but here in this lecture, I will consider only the cohomology with compact support. Which is easier from the point of view of geometry and more complicated from the point of view of harmonic analysis. The other choice, this is exactly the opposite. So we will consider this cohomology with compact support. And just a remark, thanks to the existence of toroidal compactification of this variety, this Shimura variety, then we know that this set of prime number is exactly the set of good reduction for the cohomology with compact support. So obviously, in this process, we may assume that V is irreducible. Then that means that we may assume that V is a representation given by an highest weight. So I have fixed a Borel subgroup in G. So obviously here we can take simply the Borel subgroup of upper triangular matrices and maximal torus, which is a diagonal matrix. And so mu is the highest weight of the irreducible representation with respect to B. And so the torus can be written this way, the diagonal matrices, and which satisfy, they are symplectic, so they satisfy the relation T1, T4 equal T2, T3. And so the set of mu, so a dominant weight. So the set of mu is the set of dominant weight. So and this set of character can be identified to, so I take a T like this, and I map T to T1 mu 0, mu 1, T2 mu 2, CT, where CT is this product. So this is the normalization that Taylor was using. Good one. So this is the way you parameterize the character. So you have integer mu1, mu2, mu0, such that mu0 is congruent to mu1 plus mu2 mod 2. And then the dominant weight are given by the condition mu1, mu2, mu1 bigger than mu2 bigger than 0. So in the lecture, I will fix a mu, and for simplicity, I will consider, in some sense, the opposite case of the trivial one. I will consider the case where mu is regular. So fix mu regular. So this is for simplicity. And then we have mu1. So the main result so the way, first of all, a way to formulate this result. So the local L factor I was considering before. So there is a mu here. Okay. S, so that's a Grothendieck interpretation, is an exponential of some power series of the so-called Lefschetz number. So, and those Lefschetz numbers are the trace of Frobenius alternating trace of Frobenius, so that I will denote simply like this, acting on the cohomology with compact support. So, in fact, we can try to compute this number directly, but in practice it is complicated. So it's easier to generalize right away the problem and to add an extra Ecke operator. And in fact, it is required if we want to prove more than to compute, to have more than to compute the zeta function. So I will do it right now. So on the Shimura variety, there is an action of an Ecke algebra by correspondences. So the Ecke algebra is the Ecke algebra of locally constant function with compact support on the finite part of the Adel divided by the maximal compact outside infinity. So, and I take them Q values, so that I have no problem of rationality. And so this act on the cohomology with compact support. So this is for a P which is good. That means which does not divide Ln. And it commutes with the action. This action commutes with the action of the phi. So we can define this. Sorry, I forgot to say something. And we will consider this number for F, which is good at P. So Kp is the maximal compact subgroup at P. So, and what we really want to compute is this Lefschetz number. Okay? So, and to formulate the result, I need to introduce several notations. So, first of all, some Langlands packet of representation of GR. So, associated to mu, okay, or the finite dimensional representation V mu, there is a corresponding L packet of representation consisting of two representations. One is holomorphic, the other has the Whittaker model, which have the same central and infinitesimal character as V mu. So, and we will consider automorphic representation pi, automorphic representation of GA, such that pi infinity is isomorphic either to pi W or pi H. And those representations are automatically cuspidal. Okay? So now that's for the infinite place for the group G. For finite places, so we have the what Langlands called yesterday Frobenius-Ecke parameter. So pi is a tensor product, restricted tensor product of local representation, and pi p has a so-called Frobenius-Ecke parameter, so which sits in the dual torus, so this I will explain, divided by W. So I need to explain what is T hat. So first of all, we have the Langlands dual of our group. So the Langlands dual of J is in fact the same group, but over the complex number. In fact, it is J spin 5, but it's more convenient to view it as GSP4C. And W is the Y group of the pair GT, or equivalently the pair G hat T hat, where T hat is the dual of T and can be viewed as similarly as a diagonal torus here. So T hat is simply the diagonal torus in GSP4C. So, and this parameter with this kind of description, using this kind of description of T hat, is simply a collection of matrix entries, so which are defined up to a permutation by an element of W, which sit in the symmetric group in 4 variables, and they satisfy, up to this choice, they satisfy the same relation as before. Z1 Z4 equal Z3, Z2, Z3. Okay. So even to formulate the main result, I need some more. I need the endoscopic group. So there is here a unique, up to equivalence, there is a unique elliptic endoscopic group, H. So its dual is the centralizer in G hat of the diagonal matrix 1 minus 1. I hope it's correct. 1. Yeah. And as a group, it is simply GL2 times GL2 divided by the anti-diagonal GL1. So this group is not a subgroup of J, but as usual, but it is sharing with the group J a maximal torus. So, and I need to start again this kind of story for the group H. So this is not, it's a little bit painful, but not difficult. So for GL2 R, so we have a well-known family of discrete series representations, sigma n, which has the same central and infinitesimal character as the finite dimensional representation, rational finite dimensional representation, the symmetric power of Q2. So here there is no packet. That's already good. So, and we can twist it, as usual, by multiplying it by a character, the determinant to some power lambda. So, so for example, the central character of this one is so that's the central character, for example. And any automorphic representation of GL2, the Adel group, which has this kind of component at infinity, is automatically cuspidal. Oh, that's almost it. So the finite at finite places. So again, we have a Frobenius-Ecker. Okay, just 1 minute. Okay, so so we have at finite places, we have, so we take a sigma, a global one, we have a sigma p, and so sigma p has a Frobenius-Ecker parameter, which is again given by a diagonal matrix, which is in fact a pair of unordered pair of complex numbers. So in the theorem is the following one. So we assume, as I said at some point, all the required form of the fundamental lemma. So most probably they are available. So for the group J, for H, there is no problem. It's easy. So we assume all these fundamental lemma. So in particular, we assume the transfer of a function outside P at finite, only at finite places to a function on the group, endoscopic group H. So, and this for a suitable normalization of the transverse factor. So there is to write the things precisely, it's a little bit painful because you have really to fix really the transverse factor and so on. So there is a good normalization in the unramified case by, I think, Tom Hales. So this is the way you do it. And so that's the assumption, and then the conclusion is the following. So we take f equal fp as before, and we take an integer j, again as before, and then the result is that, I mean, a form of the result is that this Lipschitz number is equal to a main term, so which will be a black box in this lecture, but hopefully explained by James on Saturday. How to handle this part? What I write? This. So this is the main term, there is a minus here, the main term for the group, and there is also a main term for the endoscopic group. So which is similar, a similar sum. So I will say what are pi and the rho. So and here it's similar, but not quite the same. So there is a minus somewhere. Minus maybe I will put a parenthesis. So, and here the pi, they run over this set. I mean, I will just erase. So the automorphic representation of the group with the given type at infinity. I mean, pi w or pi. Sorry? Where is what is the problem? I am lost. Sorry. So here? Oh yeah, oh sorry. Yeah, I see. Trace, it's a misprint. Yeah, sorry. Okay, so the pi. So the only restriction is that it is automorphic and it has the given type, the type given by mu at infinity. Similarly for the rho, so I have to say what are the type. So this is for GL2 now. And so the type at infinity is given by the finite dimensional representation. So I am still explaining the main term, but there is obviously an extra term, a complementary term, and rho 2 infinity. Plus 1, sorry. So those are for G, and those are for GL2. And they have, there is an extra restriction, they have the same central character. So that's for the main term, and there is an extra term which is completely explicit, but I will not write because it would be really too long. But what I can say about the complementary term, so first of all, so what I said, it is completely explicit, and it is only written in terms of function, automorphic representation of GL1 and GL2. And there is no problem of transfer there. I mean, it's really completely explicit here. And moreover, so this is a complementary term. And moreover, you can express it as a trace of a Galois representation, which occur in some cohomology. So it's really the Langlands correspondence for GL2. So there is a completely explicit Galois representation WL, which is equal to this complementary term. So how one can prove such a theorem? So the first step is to use the Lefschetz fixed point formula. So through, in fact, the result of pink, so this conjecture by Deligne. So we have this Lefschetz number, which is written as a trace. And so the goal of the Lefschetz trace formula is to formulate it as a number of fixed points. So in this setting, it is due to Grothendieck. So what you want is some kind of counting of fixed point. As you have a local system, it's slightly more complicated, but it is a sum over the fixed point of a local trace. So the correspondence give you an endomorphism of the stalk of the local system, and this is what you like to have. So unfortunately, as the variety is not compact, so this is not true, simply not true. But the things become much better, as was conjectured by Deligne, when J is large with respect to F, or Fp. So, and this was proved in this case by Pink, and in a more general case by Fujiwara, so that this formula is true when J is large with respect to the function. So you have to count the fixed point properly and so on, but I will not enter in those things. So the second step is a result of Kottwitz. So just to give a description, adelic description of the fixed point set and of this expression. So the sum of the naive term. So so Kottwitz proved first of all an expression like that. So I will write it but not explain it because it will take too long again. So that was the first formula. So there is a so in particular, there is a representation which is occurring, V mu. So there are orbital integrals of the function outside P and twisted orbital integrals at P. So and it's a sum over, this is a rational element, and this is a pair of an adelic element outside infinity and P, and this is an element at P, in fact, in a finite extension of QP. So I don't want to enter in this, but he has done more. So that's the first, the expression that you get from the adelic description of the point, fixed point. So he has, so this is an equality, there is an equality between this expression and this one, and there is an equality between this expression and a new one, which is, in some sense, he has stabilized partly the trace formula. He has stabilized the elliptic term, so this is the elliptic part of the trace formula in some ways, after stabilization. And in fact, it is exactly, in this case, this expression where TE for a group means the elliptic part of the geometric side of the trace formula. This is a specific function, and this is a specific function on the group, and this is a specific function on the endoscopic group. There is a constant here, and so on. In Kottwitz, you will see stars and so on, but here they are all, they are not needed. So I don't want to explain also too much about that. So this is simply a sum, for example, this is, and there is a, where you have a volume of related to the centralizer of an element and an orbital integral. So this is up to elliptic, semi-simple, elliptic, up to conjugacy. So, and the functions are products. Like this. So there is a BG, sorry. And similarly for H. So, and I will just say what are the part at infinity. So the part at infinity for the group J is minus 1/2 of a pseudo coefficient of on the packet, an average pseudo coefficient, an Euler Poincaré function on the packet. So those are pseudo coefficients of the discrete series representation which are in index. So, and for the other one, it's a little bit more complicated. But this is what gives you, I mean, it's what you see, the main term at least. Times something with, and I write it, but, and you have a symmetric term where you put, but this is this one, and this is this one. And those, this Fn lambda is a pseudo coefficient of sigma. It's a notation for this, a pseudo coefficient for this discrete series representation. So, okay, so this is completely explicit. And then you have to face to the problem what to do with this kind of expression. So then it's easy. You just take the trace formula, after trace formula, and you go. So you take the, you start with paper 1, paper 2, paper 10, paper 20. You get completely lost, but that's okay. You just go. So I will do it for the group J, and there is something similar to do for the group H. So you see right away a nice expression like this. J geometric equal J spectral. Okay, why not? And this has a main term, which is what you want. And this has a main term, which is also what you want. It is basically what the sum over pi discrete and so on. Plus extra term. So then, like this, you cannot do much. So the only things you can expect is that it will simplify a little bit at some point. And this is what's happened. So then there is a trick that I learned from Flicker and Kashdan in the function field case, is to do something similar to the Lin conjecture, then to try to simplify as much as possible this trace formula. And this is possible if you are allowed to change the things a little bit. So if you are allowed to change the things a little bit, but you are. So you take, you have your function. Time some base change, which depend on the integer j. So first of all, you are clearly allowed to take j large enough. But that's not enough. Here you need, because you have, okay, I don't have time to explain, but you need to do a little more. So it's a trick I learned from Arthur. So you need to replace at a good prime p. So your function is, can be, you assume that you can split it like this, where fq is the characteristic function of the maximal compact. And then what you can do is replace this fq by a more general one, a Hecke function, which is as general as possible. And if you do that, and first of all you do that, then you take j extremely large, then very nice things happen, is that all these extra terms disappear. All these complicated weighted orbital integrals and so on, they are all gone. But obviously, as the result is not simple, here you are still with a complementary term. But this complementary term, you can compute it. I mean, this trick also will simplify a little bit this part. So it is computable, explicit. So you do the computation, you do the same for the endoscopic group, and then you are done. So I think this kind of things can be done for in a very large generality. A series which seems quite extracting to me is the unitary groups, because at least when you take an endoscopic group of a unitary group, you don't get GO something, which is quite unpleasant. Okay. So now, just to conclude, some kind of, so I did not push it very far. I think Weissauer push it much more. You can get some result from the main theorem. So I will just formulate a very weak form of what you can get. You can combine this, also you can combine this result with Steller. And then at the end you can most probably get the complete picture of the, but this is not written, so I cannot say more about that. So a first consequence is that if you take a pi, an automorphic representation, so of GA with a good type at infinity, I mean the only type you can obtain from this method at least, a discrete series like that, then you assume that, so Piatowski-Shapiro introduced this notion of CAP representation which does not come from a Levy subgroup. That means that almost everywhere you don't have so what can happen for a representation of G and a Levy subgroup M is that you have a representation pi here, a representation sigma here, such that the Frobenius-Ecke parameters are almost the same, are the same everywhere. So this you don't want for this result. So you try to avoid those representations. And also you avoid, similarly, representation which come from H. Almost everywhere come from H. Then you are in a very good position. And then if you apply what I have said before, you can prove that there is a corresponding Galois representation. Pi f, in fact, it depends on only the finite part of it. And the trace of Frobenius is, because of this hypothesis, only almost everywhere what you want. Except you don't know up to now, at least. Maybe Saturday, we will know the multiplicities. So it's a sum, it's a multiplicity, the unknown multiplicity. Over 2 times the term I had before, Z1, so I just write it quickly, Z4 to the G. So for each pi f, in fact you start from a pi f, which does not come almost everywhere like this from, neither from M, neither from H. Then you have a corresponding Galois representation, which has, and this one satisfies the Ramanujan conjecture. Okay.
Are there any questions?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it will be different in the sense that you will have to work on the algebraic geometric side. I mean, you will have to, so here it will be different. You will use a different formula. I mean, where here it will be complicated, here it will be trivial. There will be no extra term, but a complicated term here. And then you have to identify the local contribution of the intersection complex at infinity with this. In principle, this is done. I mean, I don't see any major obstacle to do that, except again that it is very painful. It has been done without the Frobenius in some way, by Goreski, McPherson, and others. I mean, it has been done. But if you want to do it with Frobenius and so on, you have to work. But I don't see any major obstacle to do that. Yes, with the cohomology, again, you can do a lot because, for example, Schwermer has computed, okay, the GK cohomology and so on. I mean, you know where are the pieces. I mean, you know everything. So then you can try to put together all this result. Obviously, maybe it will not be as complete because, but most probably you can get you are not far from the whole picture there, without the extension, obviously. The problem is there. So it's 4 times this. Okay? Now you ask to the specialist in the room. Most probably this should be 1 or something like that. For yes, I mean, it should be 1, but this part. And so the dimension would be 4. But this is, then you have also the endoscopic one. I mean, those which are coming from H. Then it's another story. I mean. But in some sense, you have basically always 4-dimensional representation, but they are not always irreducible and so on. So I think that's a picture. You have always 4-dimensional representation. For example, if you take the trivial local system, you have the one which peak in each cohomology group of even dimension, which pick one, the Lefschetz, hard Lefschetz one. So this is a 4-dimensional one, and so on.
How would one verify the hypothesis?
I don't know. No idea. No, but maybe with L function and so on, but this is not my field, really.
Are there any other questions? I just have one. You said for computing sigma, the Gauss representation, you use Taylor's results. You said you combine it with Taylor's results?
No, I said, no, I did not do that, but it can be done. I mean, and maybe Weishauer did it, some of it.
But this is independent of...
Yes, it's independent. After that, you have to, because with the method of Taylor, you get slightly different result. So you get result like that, but for not almost every p, that means outside a finite number of p's, but for p's which belongs to a set of density such and such. So, but you get different result because he is taking into account the H type and so on. So then combining these things, all the method, you can get really, I think, quite a complete picture. But
okay, let's thank our speaker again.